I think that prior to my college experience, probably the most influential person as far as my art goes would be my high school art teacher, John Randall. He was a brilliant person and very helpful in art. At that time, I went through a little phase of doing cartooning, and he was very helpful in getting gestures and so on like that for me in doing art then. And he just solidified my love of art. When I reached college and majored in art, I had Ken Morrow for painting. He was very influential, particularly as to learning color relationships and different ways of painting. I had Janet Turner for printmaking, and she was influential in seeing various ways of looking at art. She had prints on the walls of all the well-known artists. You could stand nose to nose with these artists and see how they did works, various styles of printmaking, things like that. Those two were probably the most influential of the ones I had in actual producing art. I had every art history class from John Ayers that I could take because I loved art history, and he was just incredible in his knowledge. I always felt that he was sort of a frustrated architect because he designed and built the home that he first lived in here in Chico, and when he taught medieval and Renaissance art, you could tell his love of architecture when he discussed the cathedrals and the Renaissance architecture. I had bought my first piece of artwork in 1964, and it was from Robin Blomquist, who had a gallery here in Chico, and it was a restrike of a Katie Kollwitz print. I paid $20 for it, and $20 at that time for a college student was a pretty good chunk of change. When I was collecting, one of the fun things about it was getting to know the artist personally, particularly the Chico artists. Then it expanded as I went further in my collecting of Northern California arts. One of them that became very kind of special to me was David Gilhooly. I had purchased one of his sculptural pieces called Tall Burger that Paul de Pasqua had and was selling. And then I decided to buy his plexiglass wall piece, Hawaiian shirt for an air traffic controller. At that time, David was living up in Oregon, in Central Oregon. And he knew that what I was doing and everything, I guess through Paul de Pasqua, and he called me and he said, I am moving to the coast of Oregon. I have all this artwork. I'm tired of lugging it around. Would you be interested in buying it? I said, you bet I would. It took me several years to pay him off. It was one of those things, you take advantage of what you got. And so I was able to get, several, maybe 40 to 45 prints by David Gilhooly, and some of the big name artists such as Wayne Thiebaud, a print by him, a print by Diebenkorn, a print by Volkas, and a David Park ink wash drawing, figure drawing, all came through David Gilhooly. Well, over the years, I would continue to write to him to say thank you and just to talk art. And he would write back. And it was nice to let him know that his work was eventually going to be in a museum situation here in Chico. I've always had good relations with galleries because if I make a purchase from them, I always try and make sure that if I can get installments, if it's too much money to pay at one time, that I always make sure I get the payment each time. So they'll know I'm good, that they can trust me and things like that. It's only happened a few times, but I've always made sure I did it. I think my motivation for continuing on collecting is just the love of seeing art. How to sort of vicariously see the world through the eyes of another person. How they visualize color, how they see composition and texture and all these other elements that go into a work of art. I've been told my collection is rather eclectic, and that's fine with me. There's nothing very radical as of yet in the collection, but that doesn't mean that won't happen. But it's just the love of viewing and sort of wanting to have it for yourself for a while before turning it over to someone else to enjoy too, or hopefully enjoy. When the idea for the Museum of Northern California Art came about, I had asked, well, I would like to be involved a little bit since it is my collection that will be the founding basis for it. And getting on the board and seeing how it worked and all the details it went into, I think I was not particularly surprised of what it would take, because I know that it entails so many details that might not be thought of, just legalities and how to set it up and things like that. But I have been surprised at how well it has gone, even though there's been a few little bumps and glitches, which I suppose is to be expected. But I'm really happy with the way it has gone in the almost 3 years of officially being a museum. And hopefully it will continue that way. I know that everybody's be just pleased when it's all done and all set up. And then I'm sure it will be just a matter of continuing on with what's been doing. But yeah, I think it's been quite an experience.